Across the galaxy, powerful leaders, warlords, and princes gathered inside the crystal hall of Veylara. They stood in silence, waiting for one name. The name of the one the Starborn Princess would choose as her life partner. Everyone expected power to win, or beauty, or strength. But when the princess finally spoke, every ruler in the room froze. Because she did not choose any of them. She chose a human, a quiet young man who didn't even know why he had been invited. Princess La'Aneth, heir to the strongest empire in the Orion sector, was born with a rare energy inside her blood, starfire, something that glowed with every heartbeat. Many across the galaxy believed marrying her would give access to her people, her fleets, and her future throne. Every suitor believed they were worthy, except one. Elias Ward, a simple human engineer from Earth, received a mysterious invitation. He thought it was a mistake. He had no beauty, no power, no wealth, only a kind heart and a habit of fixing broken machines. When he stood among the galaxy's elites, he felt small, unimportant, and out of place. Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The crystal hall of Veylara stood in perfect silence. Light from hundreds of floating crystals drifted above the crowd, casting shifting blue shadows across the giant chamber. The air itself felt heavy, as if every breath depended on what was about to happen. Thousands had gathered inside the hall, alien princes decorated in gold armor, warlords with scarred skin and glowing weapons, noble houses dressed in shimmering robes, and champions from distant galaxies. All stood in one place, all waiting for one moment. At the far end of the hall stood Princess La'Aneth, heir to the Starborn Empire. Her presence was bright enough to make the crystal pillars glow stronger. Silver lines of starfire, her people's ancient energy, moved softly across her skin like living light. Every step she took seemed powerful and graceful at the same time. Everyone waited for her to choose a suitor. Her choice would shape alliances, shift power, and change the balance of the galaxy. Near the back of the hall stood someone who clearly did not belong. A human, Elias Ward. He wore simple clothes, nothing royal or impressive. He held his hands together nervously, his eyes wide as he stared at the impossible scene before him. He kept repeating in his head that he should not be here, yet every attempt he made to leave had been blocked by guards. He had arrived on the planet 2 hours earlier. When he stepped off the transport ship, he had expected someone to say, "Sorry, wrong man," but instead, he had been escorted through shining corridors and brought direct to the Royal Hall. Now he stood between warriors and rulers from every corner of space. He whispered to himself, "This can't be real. I don't belong here." The suitors around him glanced at him with confusion at first, then irritation, then insult. Many looked at him as if he were dirt beneath their boots. Some whispered to each other. Some laughed quietly. A few simply looked ready to crush him for standing in their space. Elias tried to keep his head down. He did not want trouble. He only wanted to understand why the invitation he received had his name on it. At the front of the hall, Princess La'Aneth lifted her hand. The crowds instantly fell silent. Her voice carried across the chamber, clear and soft, yet filled with power. "I have made my choice." Every alien prince took a step forward. Every warlord straightened his posture. Some smiled, already confident that they would be chosen. But the princess did not look at them. She looked across the hall. Her silver eyes moved past the royal banners, past the commanders, past the nobles, until they landed on one person. Elias felt his stomach drop. She was staring at him. His mind raced. No, that was impossible. She couldn't be looking at him. The princess slowly raised her hand, and pointed straight at him. Elias Ward of Earth. The hall went silent. Utter, perfect, stunned silence. Elias felt frozen in place, like he had been hit by a pulse beam. His heart thumped so loudly he thought others might hear it. He whispered, "What? No, no, this is some mistake." But there was no mistake. The entire hall exploded with shouting. A warlord with burning red eyes slammed his spear into the floor. "A human? This is a joke, a disrespect to all of us." A prince with long blue wings spread them wide and yelled, "He has no power. No strength. He is nothing." A metallic emperor's voice thundered, "This choice threatens the stability of our empire. A human cannot stand beside the Starborn Princess." Elias stepped back, terrified. He had never felt smaller in his life. The princess, however, remained calm. "He is my choice." Her words only unleashed more anger. Guards moved quickly, forming a protective circle around Elias as some suitors pushed forward as if ready to attack. Elias raised his hands helplessly. I didn't do anything. I don't even know her. Princess Lanath stepped down from her platform and walked toward him. The suitors watched in rage as she approached the simple human. When she reached him, she spoke in a soft voice that only he could hear. You came. Elias blinked. He looked around, confused and anxious. Do we know each other? The princess smiled in a way that made Elias feel even more confused. We do. Although you were too young to remember. Elias shook his head. I think you're mixing me up with someone else. I've never been off Earth until last year. She shook her head gently. No, Elias. You once saved my life. Elias stared at her like she had spoken in another language. Saved your life? Me? No way. I would remember doing something like that. Her expression softened. You were a child. You helped me when I was lost and alone, far from home. You protected me when you had nothing. No weapon, no power, only kindness. He took a shaky breath. That doesn't sound like me. Across the hall, several suitors gathered in a shadowed corner. One whispered, we cannot let this stand. Another replied, the bonding ceremony must not happen. Remove the human before then. They glanced toward Elias with dangerous eyes. Meanwhile, Princess Lanath leaned closer. Elias, listen to me. You are in danger now. Many will try to harm you. He swallowed hard. But, why choose me? Look at them. Look at you. You deserve someone powerful, someone important, someone who isn't me. She looked directly into his eyes, her silver gaze warm instead of cold. I chose you because you were the only one who helped me without wanting anything in return. Elias opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, the lights flickered. Then, a thunderous explosion shattered the hall. Crystals broke apart and fell from above. Smoke rushed across the chamber as guards pushed royal guests towards safety. A shockwave sent Elias stumbling to the floor. Screams filled the air. From somewhere within the smoke, a deep voice roared, find the human. Bring him to us. Elias felt a chill go down his spine. He crawled backward, shaking. Why would anyone want him? Princess Lanath pulled him to his feet. We must move. Now. Enemies wearing black armor stormed into the hall, firing plasma bolts and swinging energy blades. They were not suitors, they were assassins. The princess grabbed Elias's wrist and pulled him behind a collapsing pillar. Stay behind me, she commanded, her voice fierce. They ran through a hidden exit behind the throne. Elias could barely keep up. His legs felt weak, his chest burned. Explosions behind him rattled the hallways as they fled deeper into the royal chambers. Why are they chasing me? Elias yelled as they turned down another corridor. I haven't done anything. Princess Lanath didn't slow down. They are not chasing you for what you are today. They are chasing you for what you once did. Elias nearly tripped. What I once did. I don't even remember meeting you. You will remember, she said. If you stay alive. Footsteps echoed behind them. Pursuers. The princess scanned a wall panel, and a hidden door slid open. She pulled Elias inside and sealed it shut. The room was small, filled with ancient memory crystals and glowing scrolls. Elias collapsed onto a bench, gripping his hair in panic. He finally managed to speak, voice shaking. Please just tell me what's happening. Princess Lanath knelt in front of him. When you were a child, I arrived on your world by accident. My ship crashed. I was injured. Hunters from another species were tracking me. They wanted my starfire. Elias stared blankly. He had no memory of any of that. You found me, she continued. You hid me. You protected me with nothing but your courage. You fixed my broken beacon, without knowing it would save my people. Elias swallowed hard. But, I don't remember any of this. Her voice softened. I erased the memory from your mind. You were too young. I wanted you to be safe. If word spread that a human child had saved a Starborn Princess, enemies would have come for you. Elias felt like the ground had vanished under him. So, I saved you. And now they want to kill me because of that. She nodded. You changed the fate of an empire without knowing it. And now, those who wanted me captured back then have found out about you. The door suddenly shook beneath a heavy impact. They're here, she whispered. Elias backed away. I can't fight them. I'm just me. Princess Lanath stood tall, her starfire glowing brighter, flowing across her skin in streaks of silver light. She looked back at him and said, you don't have to fight. You just have to stay alive. The door cracked. Light burst through it. Shouts echoed from outside. Give us the human. The princess positioned herself between Elias and the attackers. Stay behind me, she said, her voice calm and powerful. Whatever happens next, trust me. The door exploded open. Enemies rushed inside. The room filled with smoke and blinding light. Elias pressed his back against the wall, heart pounding, terrified and confused. The princess stepped forward, ready to defend him with everything she had. Dark silhouettes closed in, and just before the clash, everything faded to black. Smoke and sparks filled the chamber. Elias pressed his back against the wall, trembling, his heart pounding faster than the explosions outside. He had no idea what to do, what to think, or how he had even ended up in this impossible nightmare. Princess Lyaneth stood in front of him, her silver starfire glowing like a shield. Her eyes met his, calm, determined, unshakable. Stay close, she said. I will get us out. Elias nodded, though his legs felt like jelly. He could barely move, but he followed her anyway. They darted through a hidden corridor that twisted like a maze, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. Plasma bolts scorched the walls. Sparks rained from overhead. Conduits. The hallways themselves seemed alive with danger. Elias whispered, voice shaking, Why me? I'm nothing. I don't belong here. The princess did not slow. You were the only one who showed me courage when I needed it. You protected me when no one else would. That is why you belong here. They reached a small room with glowing memory crystals. Lyaneth pressed her hand against a panel, activating a soft blue light. Look, she said. You need to remember. You need to know why you are important. Images flashed across the crystal. A younger Elias appeared, a small boy in simple clothes, guiding a frightened girl through a dark forest. He lifted her from traps, shielded her from hunters. His small hands repaired a broken device, sending signals that called a fleet to save lives he did not know. Elias stared, frozen. I remember none of this. You did it anyway, Lyaneth said softly. You didn't think about reward. You didn't seek glory. You just acted. He shook his head. But I'm just a human, a simple man. I'm not like them. I don't have powers. I can't fight. You don't need powers, she replied. You only need to survive, to remember who you really are. Suddenly, alarms blared. The door shook violently. More attackers had found them. Elias panicked. We're trapped. The princess placed her hand on his shoulder. We are never trapped if we think. Use your mind, Elias. Think. He stared at the control panel by the door. The attackers were strong, armored, and armed. They would overwhelm her if she tried to fight them directly. But he saw a small vent above the door, a release valve near the walls, wires dangling in reach. I can do something, he stammered. Lyaneth nodded. I trust you. Hurry. Elias worked quickly, using his knowledge of machines. Sparks flew as he rerouted energy through the corridor panels, overloading the floor sensors. A shockwave erupted down the hallway. The attackers staggered, trapped temporarily. Move, Lyaneth shouted, grabbing his hand. They ran through a secondary exit, emerging onto the observation deck of the palace. The stars stretched endlessly above them. The sky was vast, beautiful, and terrifying. Elias looked at the princess. I don't deserve this. I don't belong here. She smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her glowing face. You already belong. You just didn't know it yet. Then, from the edge of the deck, a shadowy figure appeared. A warlord, massive and heavily armored, wielding a plasma axe. He had been part of the group that had tried to remove Elias from the ceremony. You, he growled. This human will not survive the day. Elias froze, but Lyaneth stepped in front of him, starfire flaring brightly. You will not touch him, she said. Her voice resonated like a bell through the deck. The warlord roared and charged. Lyaneth's light expanded, creating a barrier. Plasma blades clashed against shimmering energy. Sparks flew, throwing shadows across the deck. Elias realized then what he had to do. He couldn't fight with strength, but he could fight with wit. He noticed the deck's control panels were connected to the defensive turrets. With a few quick moves, he activated the turrets remotely. Energy beams swept across the deck, forcing the attackers to retreat. The princess stared at him, wide-eyed. You're clever. You are stronger than you think. Elias swallowed hard, still trembling. I just did what made sense. Exactly, she said softly. That is why I chose you. Not for power, not for glory, but for your heart and your mind. That is what the galaxy needs. The sound of retreating attackers faded. The palace was quiet again, except for the soft hum of the crystal pillars. La'aneth took Elias's hand. Come, there is one final thing you must see. She led him to the royal council chamber. The hall was empty, the council members watching from a distance, shocked at what had occurred. The Starborn leaders whispered among themselves, stunned by the princess's choice. La'aneth stepped forward boldly. I have chosen my life partner. A human, not because he is strong, not because he is wealthy, not because he is a ruler, but because he showed the greatest courage and kindness the galaxy has ever seen. Murmurs rippled through the council. Some were angry, others incredulous. A council elder, silver-skinned and wise, spoke slowly. Princess, it is unusual. She turned to him, her gaze unwavering. It is correct, and it is final. No one else can change this. No one else can challenge what is right in my heart. Elias looked around, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I'm just me. I'm not a hero. I'm not a prince. You already are a hero, La'aneth said. You saved my life, you saved countless others, and now you will help save the galaxy in ways you cannot imagine. Outside the chamber, distant explosions still echoed, but the attackers were scattered, beaten back for now. Elias took a deep breath. For the first time, he felt something he had never felt before, purpose. He looked at La'aneth. Then, if this is real, then I will do whatever it takes. She smiled and squeezed his hand. And I will stand by you. Always. The council slowly stepped forward. Some bowed in respect, acknowledging the princess's decision. Others did not, but none could change what had been chosen. The Starborn Princess and the human stood together, hand in hand, their starfire glowing brighter than ever, a symbol of a bond the galaxy had never seen before. Elias looked at the stars. The endless galaxy stretched before him, full of danger, full of wonders, and full of possibilities. For a simple human who had never asked for greatness, this was the moment his life truly began. And the Starborn Princess had chosen him. A choice that would shock the galaxy. A choice that would change the fate of countless worlds. And above all, a choice that proved courage and kindness could stand against power, fear, and prejudice, and sometimes they could even triumph.